Nathan Cox. From my understanding, he's the man behind this event. I know he reached out to me, and like I heard, he reached out to several others, but it's a tremendous effort what Nathan is doing to be as young as he is and to be as passionate as he is. Those are the type of young people that we need to look forward to. Wouldn't you all agree? Well, first of all, once again, my name is Sean Anthony, and I host a syndicated talk show called Flow of Wisdom Radio, which Nathan was right, it was here on iPower 92.1, which is a predominantly hip-hop and R&B station. And yes, I touched on things such as the Federal Reserve, Illuminati, the New World Order, hidden agendas, chemtrails. I mean, you name it, nothing was off limits on my show. Nothing is off limits on my show. And the updates on my talk show, we're going to launch nationally. So it's going to be a nationally syndicated talk show by a company by the name of GCN, Genesis Communications Network, which is the same company that syndicates Alex Jones. You guys familiar with Alex Jones? So I'm very excited about that, and we're looking for a launch in late October towards the beginning of November. But more importantly, the whole purpose and reason why we're here, well, first of all, we all come from different backgrounds, wouldn't you agree? I mean, we all come from different walks of lives, and to see us together here for one common cause, that's a true testament. That's a true testament. It shows that we're standing in agreement on something that bothers us. And of course, it's the Federal Reserve and the elite leaders that are operating things behind closed doors. But one of our common thread is that we're all Americans. We're all Americans here, and they want to divide. So if we're divided, we're going to fall. So if you look around, now this may not be 500 people, but 50 or 20 is better than none. Wouldn't you agree? And we all came from our different backgrounds for one common cause, because we believe that something is wrong. And we have to do something to make it right. So we must stand together. And some of these things that you hear about that goes on, a lot of it's not covered in the mainstream media. Would you agree that it gets you angry? I will be the first to admit, when I hear about certain things, the corruption that goes on within our government, within the leaders of our country, it gets me upset. But what I've came to understand is that anger is tied into passion. When things that tick us off, that gets us riled up, it's because we feel passionate about something. And the one message that I just want to get across today is, let's find that passion. Let's tap into that passion and come from a loving heart. Because anger, it just, from anger turns to fighting, turns to violence. And we're not about that, right? We're not about that. We just want what's right. So if we find that passion, channel that passion coming from a loving place. Well, you say, well, Sean Anthony, how do we do that when they're doing such evil, corrupt things to our country? Well, we got to ask ourselves, what are the things that we love? We love our fellow Americans. We love our families. We love our God. And we love the United States of America. So I say, in closing, what is it that you love? Why are you really here? Is it to end the Fed? Are you thinking about the future of your children's children? Because if we don't do something now, today, at this very moment, like we all are, then the future looks bleak. But this morning when I woke up and I did, a little Google search, a Bing search, an internet search, the same thing is going on right here in Richmond, Virginia. It's going on in Philadelphia. It's going on in Florida. It's going on in California. And we are making a statement right now by standing in the capital of Virginia right now and saying, "In the Fed! In the Fed!" I'm Sean Anthony. Thank you very much.
Like Sean said, we're doing this in solidarity with protests going on all over the country right now as we speak at each and every Federal Reserve across the country right now. So again, thank you all very much for coming out. For anybody who got here a little late, my name is Nathan Cox. I'm the founder of Virginia Cop Block. I'm a United States Army veteran. I got out of the Army in '09, and I've been very, very active and very involved ever since I've got out. We got one more speaker, and then after Jared, we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity to either jump on the megaphone or the microphone and give a 2-minute speech to the crowd or a rant to the Federal Reserve. Last year when we did this, only a handful of people did it, and that's fine and understandable. And after everybody's done speaking, you're free to roll out. I'm gonna probably hang out here until about 2 o'clock. Please, if you haven't already, pick up a Liberty Empowerment packet. They're sitting over here, right over here by the lamp. It's some of the critical information that we've been giving out to folks here in inner city Richmond the last about month and a half. So our next speaker is Jared. He was the 2012 Ron Paul State Director in North Dakota. Let's give a big welcome to Jared Hendricks.
Thank you, Nathan, and special thanks to Nate Cox and Meg McLean and Igor Prohorov and the others who helped organize this event. I do think that the Fed issue is the most important event, the most important economic issue of our time. But it's not a new issue. This really goes back for thousands of years, even into biblical times. In Proverbs, it says that the Lord detests dishonest weights and measures. I mean, this has been a big issue for centuries, and even going through ancient Rome, when Rome got too big domestically and abroad, they expanded their empire beyond what they could afford, they would resort to primitive inflation. They would chip coins, they would physically chip coins, and they would dilute the metals. Of course, today it's a lot easier. They just move a decimal point over in a computer to create credit at a central bank. But this debate has been going on for a long time. Even 200 years ago, at the beginning of this country, we had a debate between the Hamiltonians and the Jeffersonians about whether we should have a central bank that would give the government the unlimited power to pay for and to do essentially whatever it wants. And unfortunately, we did lose that bank, and we did have we did lose that argument. We did have a national bank that was chartered for 20 years. So this is not a new issue, but it has been thrust into the forefront because the economic conditions are so bad. 22% real unemployment, and according to the real CPI, probably 9% inflation. So things are very bad. Every month, the federal government spends over $300 billion, and we only bring in a little less than $200 billion. So it doesn't take too much of a math genius to realize that that's just not sustainable. But as all of you know, because you're here, you know that it's not so much how much money they spend as it is how the money is spent. And that is why it is so destructive, because we have a system where the poor and the middle class are disproportionately adversely affected by our inflationary policies. So the people are beginning to suffer, and that's why this issue is coming up to the forefront. But I think we have to really come to terms with the fact that Ben Bernanke and his buddies, they really believe in this stuff. This is not necessarily some type of conspiracy necessarily, although certainly it was born in secret meetings down in Jekyll Island. But it's pretty out in the open. I mean, they really believe that these ideas are correct. They recently announced QE3, quantitative easing, which, as I like to call it, is the indefinite detention of the American economy. But they recently started this, but it's really nothing new. They're just continuing to do the same thing they've done for 100 years. But they really believe it. They really believe that this works. So that is why this has been going on for so many centuries and so many years, because it is a philosophic battle. It is a battle of ideas. And because it is, we have to be armed with the right ideas. If we believe in liberty, if we believe in this philosophy, then we are personally responsible. We are personally responsible to do something about it. And the tools are there. They are available to us. And I might even offend a few folks when I say this, because there might be a few anarchists here. But you know what? If you really believe that the system that we have is totally broken, And I admit it might be hanging on by a thread, but if you really believe that this system is totally broken, you're wasting your time here. Because the system does work. If enough people put enough pressure, it will work. I'm telling you, the groundwork has been laid, and we're seeing the fruits of this now with the rise of the Ron Paul movement, the Tea Party movement, the Occupy movement. All these things are coinciding. They're all happening at the same time. So the groundwork is there. And there has been one man, which some of you have heard of, Dr. Ron Paul, who for 35 years has promoted this. Since 1983, every year in the Congress, he has introduced a bill to audit the Fed. And just recently, this past July, that bill passed the House with an overwhelming majority. So let me tell you, the system does work. It might barely work. It might work slowly, but it does work. If enough people make enough of a fuss, we can start to shed the light on this institution. Even here in the 3rd District, we're in the 3rd District right now. Bobby Scott is the representative of the 3rd District. Any Bobby Scott fans? Just making sure. A couple years ago, he voted against auditing the Fed. Well, guess what? Fast forward 2 years later, as the libertarian wing of the Republican Party took over the 3rd District. In fact, right over here is Chris Stearns, the 3rd District chairman, and a bunch of folks. I got elected to State Central Committee, and our candidate, our nominee in the 3rd District, Dean Longo, is an advocate for Fed transparency. And all those things coupled together, we were able to put pressure. And guess what? Bobby Scott voted in favor of auditing the Fed this July. So it does show that it does work, but we have to be dedicated. We have to be willing to work hard. We have to sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to take away time from your friends and your family to make this happen. If you go back 200 years ago to what the Founding Fathers had to deal with, many of them died bankrupt. They died personally bankrupt. Many of them gave their lives. So we have to understand that this will take pretty serious sacrifice. Now, I want to do something real quick here. First of all, how many folks here have a cell phone on them? So quite a few. All right, I'm going to give, you need to enter this into your phone. I'm going to give you the phone numbers for Senator, bear with me, Senators Mark Warner, Senators Jim Webb, and Senator Harry Reid. And what we need to do when we leave this rally, everybody here needs to call their senator and ask them to sign on to the Senate bill to audit the Fed, because we've gotten it through the House and now there's a risk that it could stall in the Senate. And of course we know, some of us know at least back in the early 1990s, Harry Reid was a pretty strong advocate of the Fed, but he's changed his tune a little bit, so we need to put the pressure on them. So if everybody can pay, this might take just a minute, Nate, I apologize, but let me just give out these phone numbers, because I really want everybody to put these into their phone right now if you don't have it. Senator Mark Warner's phone number is 202-224-2023. Senator Jim Webb, 202-224-4024. Senator Harry Reid's number, 202-224-3542. And get with me afterwards if you didn't get that. But when you call, the last thing I'll say here is when you call, what they really need is, at this point, we're not so much looking for co-sponsors. At this point, we're trying to force Harry Reid to bring it to the floor for a vote. So that's what we're going to be asking for. And make sure, this is a common mistake people make when they call, make sure you request specifically a written response. Remember, these legislative aides and others, when you call them, they might get a little annoyed about getting all these phone calls, but at the end of the day, it's their job. And make sure that you request a written response, because that'll force them to have to address it. If you say, hey, look, if he's not going to support this bill, then I want to know why. I want a statement. I want an explanation. And they will have to provide it to you. So please help put the pressure. We can win this. Even if we don't win it this time, I think we will win it in the future. We're steadily getting more Liberty folks into the Senate. We've got a few in the Congress already. So we got to keep fighting it. You guys need to keep standing strong on this issue. You need to stand with me, and together we will cast out this den of vipers, and we will end the Fed. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Jared. Thank you to all of our speakers. I know we're running out of time on the permit as far as the amplified devices and all that stuff. So I know there's a handful of people that want to take the opportunity here to get on the mic with the megaphone. I don't know if we have time if everybody wants to, but I'm assuming that not everybody wants to. So I'm going to go ahead and let Josh Clayton kick off the open mic 2-minute rant. I'm going to keep a close eye on the time, so if I'm going to give you about a 10-second heads up when your time's up. Again, I appreciate all the speakers coming out. I really enjoyed personally hearing 4 different perspectives about the Fed, and I'm equally excited to hear some of what you folks had to say. So, Josh, come on up, my friend. And again, my name is Nathan Cox. You can find me on virginiacopblock.org. My personal website is whoisnatecox.com. And a lot of the organizing that's been going on with the End the Fed protests and stuff like that, it can be found on a Facebook page recently created called facebook.com/Virginians for Liberty. Here's Josh.
Thank you, Nathan. We just have me up here so the rest of you know that I'm really terrible at speaking publicly, so you're not as afraid to do it. So I'm up here. I heard the last guy say, Mr. Hendrick, he did a really great job, as all the other speakers, about how these guys, they really believe in the system that they use against us, and they believe in it because it works. Because if your goal is to oppress humanity and to have the wealth and energetic product of the people go to a very few hands, it works very well. So it's not like they're stupid or anything or confused. They just know exactly what they're doing, very refined techniques, and it's really good to see, even if it's only this many people, come to face this issue, because it doesn't take a whole lot of people to actually make something change. Just a few people relaying information and being willing to, actually address the issue at hand can get everybody motivated, especially once we see more atrocities happen. It seems small now, but I think more and more people will become upset given their day-to-day life and day-to-day having to struggle to make just enough money to get by, while there's enough money, resources, and area for everyone. And I don't know exactly how this is going to end. I heard the last guy also say that the system does work, and I believe that in a lot of ways that it can, but is it too corrupt from its core to actually work from within it to change it? Or maybe it's just a stepping stone in seeing how to reconstruct this system, and it was working from within it, but maybe in the end is a complete dismantling of the system. And that's it for me today. Who's next?
Who else, anybody?
Hi. Hey, my name is Matt. Alright, yeah. Because I know it pisses me off when you see people go to jail or have to pay some ridiculous fine for a completely victimless crime, and meanwhile these people are over here counterfeiting and screwing us all over into a hole.
Yeah!
That's a real crime, not what I know you all know I'm talking about. Milton Friedman said that only the government could ever take perfectly good paper, perfectly good ink, and make the combination worthless. That's exactly what they're doing too. And even if hypothetically, ridiculously, if this was a brilliant system we had going here, the fact of the matter is the Constitution says absolutely nothing about a centralized bank. So for that reason alone, audit the Fed and the Fed. Yeah. Now the Communist Manifesto, that says a good bit about the centralized bank, but not the Constitution, that's for sure. I want to give a little bit of my 18-year-old 2 cents too, because I don't get this opportunity too often. And actually, the fact that I'm even here at this whole rally is a pretty good statement as to just how blatantly obvious the corruption of the Federal Reserve is, because if it wasn't right in my face, I wouldn't be here to speak out against it. But people need to, or all of you, everyone, should practice rights they have, even if they don't absolutely have to. Like I saw this guy, someone here, open carrying his gun, and there's absolutely no reason for him to be doing that, but he did it anyway, and that's awesome. More people need to do that. Also, stop telling people it's rude to talk about politics. We got to talk about this stuff. We really do. That's important. And possibly most practical right now, most importantly right now at this moment, the lesser of two evils is still evil. Don't vote for evil, please.
sure to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Chadwick Myers, and if any of you have people you talk to in your daily lives, you try to talk to them about the Federal Reserve, and to them it seems like an abstract concept, here's something you might be able to reach them with. It's a term in economics known as financial repression. The term is financial repression. And it just sounds sinister on its face. But what is financial repression? Financial repression is an economic condition when the rate of inflation is greater than the rate paid on interest. I went to my bank yesterday and asked them, what interest rate are you paying on savings accounts? It's 0.01%. It says here if you deposit $1,000 in their bank for 1 year, you will make 10 cents.
Woo! Yes!
Now, in the period of 1 year, has anyone experienced a greater than 10% increase in their cost of living?
Yes!
So, under this condition, with the Federal Reserve devaluing the dollar at a rate greater than what you make in interest on a savings account, that is robbing from your savings. People like my grandparents who grew up during the Great Depression learned to work hard and save. They were afraid of the stock market, afraid to take risks, so they put their money in the bank, put in a savings account where they felt confident, where they could earn interest. But now you have the Federal Reserve stealing from the savers, people that save their whole lives, to prop up bankers. This isn't some abstract concept. It's a principle of a banking system that is stealing from hardworking people that have saved their whole lives to support their buddies. Sounds like some kind of organized crime racket to me. So the people you meet, this is the way you can explain it to them. Explain it to them that their savings is being devalued. They might still say $1,000 or $1,000.10 on their banking account, but what is it purchased now? The purchasing power is being destroyed by the Federal Reserve. Thank you.
All right, who's next? We got about 10 minutes left of electricity time.
Let's go back a couple years with the Floyd Bate campaign, the most successful independent candidate to run in the House election in Virginia. 2%. Floyd was a little concerned. Gee, just 2% of the voters in the 7th District voted for me. Well, guess what? Once you added up all the third-party candidates in the state of Virginia, 24% of Virginia voted for third-party candidates. Now, was that impressive or what? 24%. That was 2 years ago. Guess how many more people have already joined the ranks that we don't even know about? I look around here, we got a small crowd. But you know what? I got a lot of familiar faces in my eyeballs right now. I've seen some of these people all the way back to 2005. The Continental Army was a minority. Don't ever forget that. We were a minority. We fought against the majority to bring independence to this continent. So just because the numbers are small, don't get discouraged. We're potent. We're very potent. And that 24% vote 2 years ago proves it. Woo! Freedom for everyone!
Hello, I'm John Rooney, cutdc.com. Also organizer of the Tri-Cities Liberty Alliance. We're holding up the flag of liberty down in Colonial Heights, Petersburg, Hopewell area. I told my group the other day, I said, hey, you know, we ought to go up there to that end the Fed rally because you're going to find the cream of the crop of liberty activists in Central Virginia there. And I really believe that. And I want to encourage you with something. How would you like to take the information, the knowledge that you have about the Federal Reserve, about the financial system, and let's say write an article and send it out to 10,000 people? How would you like to do that? Maybe get 1,000, 2,000 people to read it, maybe 5,000. Or how about if 50,000 of these leaflets were sent out and you didn't have to send them out? How would you like to do that? I mean, you've got all this knowledge, all this information, and we're preaching to the choir in a sense. Write letters to the editor. because most people aren't getting it. They're just getting the stuff, that mainstream media is feeding them, right? Rush Limbaugh. Is Rush telling them about this? Is Glenn Beck telling them about it? Probably not. But you know it. I had this hunch about 3 or 4 years ago, hey, if I just sent a letter to the editor, they'd probably print it. Well, they started printing them down in Petersburg. The Progress Index prints almost all of them. Even 9/11 truth letters, they print the stuff. And now people are waiting for my letters to say, hey, John Rooney, you haven't written a letter in a while. So you'd be surprised. How many of you could write? Raise your hand. Look at that. Look at all these potential letters going out to hundreds of thousands of people. How many of you can write a letter in the next 2 weeks and send it to a newspaper about the Federal Reserve? Raise your hand. I'm telling you, oh, that's powerful. Please do it. Please do it. I'm going to do it too. Also, we're all parts of different groups. Now, if we all join together, we really can be powerful. What if we had an anti-TSA rally along the airport area? Williamsburg Road, just lining up all these signs and everything, get the media there. Suppose we had 50 people out there protesting the groping and the X-rated scanners. It's about time we did it, right?
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
Hello, thank you. I'm Tyler Lloyd. I'm 22, and Bain was the first guy I ever voted for. Registered for it and everything, just when I heard he was on the ballot. I'm wearing a Channel 12 hat right now. I don't work for them, but I am on your side. And it's kind of ironic that I saw a Channel 6 guy around here. He left, but I don't think this will really be a big story. When it is a big story, it's a big criminal enterprise that's taken over the world. And I think we shouldn't stand for it. I'm really happy to be here today. I don't know if you guys saw me earlier. I've been passing out stickers that say "In the Fed." I'm an info warrior. If you guys know who Alex Jones is, that's what's up. And I'm really excited. This has been a good day for me. I remember seeing Bain on TV, and they gave him a 5-second clip, and it said, "We need to end career politicians." And I'm right there with you, man. Thank you.
We're going to have to wrap it up after Katie.
So my name is Katie Wood, and I have no idea what I'm really going to say. This is going to be probably more of a rant, but I'm just really fucking fed up. I'm just tired of what's going on in the world, and we don't have to live in this world. It does not have to be this way, and it all starts by doing this, by change, by being out here and being active. This is not the world we have to settle for. We deserve better than this. We deserve better than being oppressed, than being slaves, than being economic slaves to money that means nothing. And it will only stop when we stop caring about it, when we stop going into work, when we stop caring about buying materials, when we stop actively participating in their system, because we don't have to, because we are the people, we have the power, and I say to them that I am iron-jawed and I'm not fucking going anywhere.
All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the event. I just got a few final closing remarks. If you borrowed a sign that I brought about a half a dozen or a dozen extra signs. If you borrowed one of mine, just do me a favor and throw it in the grass right here. Again, I appreciate everybody coming out. Let's give a round of applause to each and every one of you for coming out today. I really appreciate all the speakers and everybody with what y'all had to say. Just keep in mind, we might not be able to end the Federal Reserve today or tomorrow, but we can always undermine it. We can always undermine it by operating on the black and gray markets. We can always undermine the Federal Reserve by using alternate currencies, because we already know that fiat money is practically worthless. And whether it's mountain hours, a new currency out in Colorado, or Bitcoin, or whether you make up your own currency and try to get some of the local businesses here to try to use it, think of ways that we can not only undermine our government, but undermine the Federal Reserve. Thanks again for coming out. My name is Nathan Cox. Thanks again. I'm going to give 30 seconds to somebody real quick.
My name is Patrick Ward. I'm a Libertarian. And I want to let everybody know you're all invited to come to the Patrick Henry Supper Club at Willie Mayo's
And on the 2nd of October, I'll be giving a lecture about the new fundamental breakthrough in nuclear physics, which will allow everybody to make do-it-yourself cheap energy forevermore with no guilt or no global warming. This is a major breakthrough in physics, and I want to brief everybody here on that. Please attend that. It's free of charge. You pay for your meal if you eat. It's at 6 p.m. on the 2nd of October. We'll be going to detail how you can build your own nuclear fusion reactor and cut those guys out of the picture. And cut those guys out of the picture.
Thanks again. We'll be doing this later on this fall or next spring.
Sept.